The following is a presentation of TFNN. The Power Trading Hour with your host, David White. Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648 or internationally at 727-873-7618. Now, David White.
And welcome all to another excellent edition of the Power Trading Hour, coming to you at the appointed time.
The following takes place between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m.
So what do we have going on today? Well, we finally got the break that I was looking for all week. I thought it would come later in the day today instead of overnight. You kind of know, but getting the timing down to minutes and seconds, much tougher. I thought they try to push it higher. They certainly did overnight. If I would have left shorts on, I probably would have stopped out in the futures market. And then, of course, the big turn lower here today. Now, the one thing is, I think this is kind of winding up to lower prices, but that's probably going to take into next week. One of the things I would have liked to seen here to say that this is just it would be the volume being higher, especially on options expiration. We didn't have a lot of juice yesterday. We only have about 6.15 billion shares so far today. We had one of the lowest volume days in both shares and dollar volume. We dipped below $400 billion on a single day, which we haven't done all summer. So as far as dollars and cents, there aren't a lot of things trading. My guess is we're probably going to see something similar today. As we said yesterday, I was looking for the action today and knew that it would probably be a fairly big day. I thought there'd be a little bit more back and forth. And I'm not exactly sure what changed overnight. Never really saw any kind of news that made me think what was going on. Let's see, I think we got a couple of questions already. Any discovery on Fed report additional assets this week? Well, I couldn't find it, and I did look for an hour this morning. I'll look again this weekend. The Bloomberg people did say, now, when you were asking about assets, that may have been bonds. And the problem with just looking at the bonds and seeing something like you're quoting here, Ben, at $2.5 billion is there's a lot of give and take. And that can just be noise in the overall thing, in the overall way that those bonds come in and out on the day. The one I thought was most interesting a week ago was that $4.6 billion into equities. And, of course, then on that day we had on China on Monday, the data, and that kind of made a little bit more sense of why they were trying to help out the market a bit. Now, I couldn't find any more on it. I did just happen to be up getting a drink of water about 3 a.m. in the morning and turned on Bloomberg, and they did bring up the subject and say that they didn't buy any more assets or sell any more equity assets. And that's why I want to split this between the bond part of the market and the equities. But as far as I can tell, maybe that was it. Overnight, they were thinking that the Fed was going to continue to buy more equities, and they didn't. But not hearing a lot about it, not a lot of people talking about it, and it's very hard to actually get the data off of it. I think the only reason I found the article last week was because Steve Santoli was talking about it even for a few minutes on CNBC. I Googled it, didn't find anything. But theoretically, they're supposed to publish those every Thursday night. I went to the Fed documents. I couldn't find anything. So if it's there, maybe somebody can help me find it. But Yeah, we're at the moment, I didn't see anything come in. And of course, we did have such a kind of a strong move in the dollar. Is that what's scaring everybody in the market? Let's go ahead and take a look at that right now, because I didn't see. Let's go ahead and look at the DX. 108 and 3.5 cents on the dollar index, which is a basket of 6 international Western currencies. So, you got up to what? Looks like maybe 108.12 or something. But that started, let's call it what? 4 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And so I've looked through the news. I haven't found anything. And generally that kind of action means that there's something going on, and why it doesn't really matter what that something is in the short term. You kind of like to know how the market reacted to particular kinds of news, and I just haven't seen anything. The pushes higher all had lighter volume, and again today so far, much lighter volume. So I don't know if you can make a great deal out of it. I would have liked to seen a lot of volume on an options expiration day. Maybe we get all that volume at the very end of the day. It's happened before, and maybe that changes the complexion. I kept on thinking that with the very light volume we have so far at 2:12, that's Eastern time in God's country, that's Florida, and the market time. Without a lot of volume, we didn't have it yesterday, we didn't have it today. I continue to think that there's something going on I don't know about. The market's not quite acting the way it should, or at least I believe it should. It's not like I threw any money away, which is good. So I'm still trying to resync myself into what's going on. Anyway, as we look at the markets themselves, off 54 on the S&P cash, Dow's down 274, Nasdaq's down 260, Russell's off, let's call it 41 or 42. Crude oil's basically flat, down 15 cents. Gold's down another $8.20. And, you put all this stuff together, and most of the time it makes sense. And you can put that together with the technicals, and it makes even more sense. There's something out here that I do not understand or haven't seen to put all those things together. So at the moment, I'm just looking at technical signals, and probably the biggest one I'm looking at is that light volume. I'm not and wouldn't be surprised to see a bounce into Monday, Tuesday for options expiration or rollover, which generally happens, one day up, one day down. But generally, you don't get a market direction out of options expiration. You just get noise. It can be rather loud noise, but the real direction in the market starts again on that Wednesday after the monthly expiration as more people put on positions and take them off. Anyway, we'll be back in a minute to look at the rest, but as sometimes you get more questions, and even the questions you get add to more questions. So we'll look through this and see if there's anything else during the next hour. We'll be back in a minute.
In a time of booming inflation, where your purchasing power is eroded, there's no better place to protect your hard-earned money than in gold. Vista Gold's flagship asset is the Mount Todd Gold Project in the Northern Territory of Australia. This is Australia's largest undeveloped gold project. We are talking a world-class gold project in a Tier 1 mining district. This is a large-scale, low-cost project with significant existing infrastructure in a politically safe and friendly mining jurisdiction. Vista Gold just completed the Mount Todd feasibility study, which resulted in a 7 million ounce gold reserve in a 16-year mine life. All of this, combined with the approvals of all major operational as well as environmental permits. This distinguishes Mount Todd as an attractive, de-risked partner, ready development stage gold project. Vista Gold trades on the New York Stock Exchange under the symbol VGZ.
Are you grinding in the market, but seeing little to no return? Or are you a successful trader, simply looking to make your job a little easier? Learn to take the path of least resistance with David White's powerful trading newsletter. David White is an accomplished trader whose deep understanding of technology and the markets allows him to consistently find and share winning trades. Support and resistance define the ranges in which stocks trade. By understanding these trading ranges, David White is able to find the path of least resistance. David White's trading newsletter, The Path of Least Resistance, is delivered daily before the markets open to make every trading day an easy win. Visit TFNN.com today and subscribe to David White's Ultimate Trading Newsletter for $119 a month. And try all of our newsletters risk-free with our 30-day money-back guarantee. Take the path of least resistance at TFNN, educating investors. Are you looking for a way to consistently add winning trades to your portfolio? Tom O'Brien is here to help. Tom O'Brien has been successfully trading markets for over 30 years. A frequent contributor to TD Ameritrade Network and CNBC, Tom O'Brien founded TFNN over 20 years ago to help educate investors just like you. Tom's daily market newsletter, Market Insights, is published every morning when the markets open to give you the competitive informational edge you need to succeed. These newsletters are packed full of Tom's advanced technical analysis and are geared to deliver comprehensive strategies for a successful portfolio. Get Tom O'Brien's newsletter, Market Insights, today and try all of our products and newsletters 30 days risk-free with our money-back guarantee at TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-873-7618.
Let's do a little history and then we'll get into some charts. But, yeah.
Then it's all just a little bit of history repeating.
On this day in 2004, Google held its initial public offering, selling over 22 billion shares, a starting price of $85. Google shares closed that day at $100.34, and the IPO created many instant millionaires and a few billionaires. What is interesting about this IPO across all the others is this is the first and last Dutch auction that I know of for an IPO. This angered the street to no end that they couldn't put their big, enormous snouts in and siphon off a few billion. And I had to say that it was very tough for me to figure out that they were going to be successful, mostly because there was so much bad press from the street because, again, they didn't and weren't able to put their giant snout in the IPO. It took about 2 or 3 years for the street to quit putting hit pieces out about how Google worked and the money it was going to make. But, yeah, it was last Dutch auction. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, I think maybe that would be the best way to actually have IPOs, that they all had to be some kind of Dutch auction out there. And that would solve a lot of the problems that we have now and the lockup periods and everything. But, hey, I'm one lone voice out there screaming at the moon and shaking my fist. 877-927-6648. Okay. Okay, got a couple more emails here. We will answer one of the things in the den, which is they think maybe it's problematic from the security flaws in Apple. And maybe that's a little bit about what's going on here today. I mean, it doesn't look that bad in retrospect. The volume's not there, really, so far. A couple of days ago, you went and hit highs with almost 80 million shares. You're down today with, what is it? $45 million shares. So again, it's tough to get. We've been waiting for those double repo patterns from Joe DiNapoli, where you have a huge move up like this, and then a couple of days down, another opportunity, he said, to go higher. That really fails, and then you drop down and fill up most of the gaps, and even go back to where the whole pattern started. And of course, on this one, let's go to the 3x3 even on this one. You could see it pulling all the way back to 154-ish. But my guess is that's going to take a while to develop. I don't think we're going to really see that instant. That other than I thought it was very interesting. We talked about it earlier in the week that it had been a long time since someone had pushed Apple as hard as they were pushing it on financial infotainment TV, i.e. Bloomberg and CNBC. But, if you looked at this chart on any other day, you wouldn't say anything. Lighter volume on the way down, way above its trend line, and it's been that way really since $132. Has anything really changed in Apple? No. I don't think it's the security thing. I think it's going to be a lot of people promised a lot about people buying new iPhones this winter. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on this. I tend to pay attention to people buying new smartphones or cars or that kind of stuff. I just haven't seen that many people out there waving around new iPhones. Maybe they know something I don't know about the next version that'll make everybody say that they have to have it. But there's certainly not much in the way in Silicon Valley about leaks, about any new features that rise to the level of even commentary for most of the people in the Silicon Valley adjacent media. Again, you can give me a call today, and it'd be a great day to do that at 877-927-6648. You can email me at path@tfnn.com, and, of course, you can put a message in the den. So, yeah, a lot of stuff's not moving. I thought maybe we'd get a big move off of AMD and NVIDIA sometime during the day. We did kind of get a little lower. There isn't a lot of volume today. You are retesting this low on the 9th of this month. And that was about 90 million shares. You got about 45, 48 million shares now. So maybe you still get it. It was just the enormous amount of short activity. About 45% yesterday on the FINRA daily data. You don't know how many people actually covered that before the end. Overall, the puts and the VIX were extremely low last night, which is generally good for a decent gap down and some weakness, because there aren't very many people to actually buy if nobody's short, or if few people are short is a better way to look at it. But you're down, you're into the previous low. That previous low had, like I said, almost 90 million shares. You got about a little more than half that today. We'll say you end up with 60 million shares. This isn't a huge down day. It is the first day, though, that you're really below the trend line on a 7x5 displaced moving average. On the 3x3, you crossed below, but again, you've had a couple of other things out here, probably not one of the best looking ones. Let's go ahead and take a look at NVIDIA, because it's another one that has just monstrous shorts over the last couple of days. And we see it down, going back in. It's holding up a little bit better in this pattern. But the candle, this one's back into 59 million shares, 66 million shares. You got 32 million shares. So I think if we're looking at this day as much of anything more than an options expiration day where everybody was as bullish as you get. Nobody could really buy puts going into yesterday. It was down in the, I think, down in the 25% range for puts yesterday on the VIX. So no one was expecting a big gap down, which is exactly when you get a big gap lower. So, yeah. Okay, first question to take is look at IBM. Is it basing out here enough for you? Again, this if you're higher today, it's a tough day to be higher and have such light volume. You may just a slightly higher high on, it's going to be about 2/3 the volume you had yesterday. So not a sign that you're ready to break out on IBM either. We shall return.
If you want to take advantage of this sector, now is the time to subscribe to my Gold Report. The Gold Report is a comprehensive look at the metal sector as well as the markets that move gold, which is the currency and bond markets. New subscribers get a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. Every Monday morning, I publish the Gold Report with coverage of gold, silver, bonds, the XAU, HUI, GDX, as well as more than 30 different mining equities. To see for yourself the types of profitable trades that are recommended within the Gold Report, sign up now by visiting TFNN.com. Don't miss out on the next great gold trade. Sign up today.
Sharpening your skills as an investor is like getting better at playing a musical instrument. You have to practice, sure, but you also need excellent instruction from experts. At TFNN, you'll get advice and guidance from the authority in technical market analysis. And it's not just dry, tedious text either. TFNN airs live financial content streamed live on TFNN.com and TFNN's YouTube channel with Tiger TV, live every market day from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern. For free. Each host is an experienced trader and gives their take on the market while taking calls and questions live from around the world. From the moment the market opens until the closing bell sounds, Tiger TV has 8 different shows with expert hosts to help you make the right moves with your money. Watch online at TFNN.com or on TFNN's YouTube channel and become the investor you were born to be. TFNN, educating investors.
TFNN is excited about our new software charting program, The Art of Timing the Trade Charts. In collaboration with Tom O'Brien and using his best-selling book, The Art of Timing the Trade, Your Ultimate Trading Mastery System, David White has programmed an outstanding piece of software that will complement any trader's methodology. Using this first-of-its-kind program, The Art of Timing the Trade Charts allows you to scan thousands of stocks for Fibonacci formation setups, including Gartleys, ABCs, butterflies, and much more. The Art of Timing the Trade Charts is designed to help you when scouring the markets for stocks just beginning to form the trading patterns that many investors spend days, weeks, or even months searching to find. And right now, we're offering licenses available at only $79 a month. We are so confident that you're going to love this new charting software that will even give you a 30-day unconditional money-back guarantee. Don't miss out on this incredible new piece of software. Get your copy of The Art of Timing the Trade Charts today by visiting TFNN.com.
This segment is brought to you by Thinkorswim. For more information, just click the Thinkorswim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
Yeah, it's a tough options expiration. Thoughts on the IBB? So we get on to it. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Ben. Okay, Todd. Let's take a look at the IBB, and then we'll get back to what I was going to talk about today. We've got a move down in the IBB, again, about half the volume we had yesterday. So could you set this up as a possible ABC higher? You could if you just discounted that today is options expiration day. And generally, I don't put a lot of weight in it. If I put any weight in it, it's about half the weight I would put in any other day. Again, not capable of seeing maybe some kind of a little push, maybe into midweek before the market really falls apart. Again, if I had a lot more volume today, maybe we get it before the end of the day, I'd be thinking a lot more bearishly here. But certainly coming down into the end of a options expiration week is rather rare. It does tell you something, though, and that is that the market's probably weaker than most people think. But I think a lot of people think that the market's been stronger than or weaker than the up move would actually say, if that makes any sense. Anyway, on the IBB, you're down with about half the volume. You've got support right at 126. If you can make a good case for it and you get down to 125, 125.50 and want to go long, you may get a retest of 135 up there at the top. It's hard to get excited this time of year. Generally, we're about a week or 10 days away from the funds buying big dollars to go into the fall. That's generally. Will we get those big dollars to buy into the fall this year? I think we're probably going to get some. It just depends on that. But generally that happens right after Labor Day, and I think that's the 3rd of September. So, you get back a couple days later, everybody starts trying to find a faster horse for the fall. And the question is, do world events, the dollar, crush that out this year? I think we're probably a little too far out here to see how the market moves. But generally, it's very tough after September can be the worst month of the year. But generally, that is because they're dumping the stuff that they don't like to get the stuff that they do like. And by mid-September, you start seeing a fairly decent rally. Now, maybe those usual seasonal patterns don't hold, but it doesn't look strong right now. But the only thing that does look strong is the lack of volume. And that's only a daily issue here. To UNG, retested the previous high. We talked about this yesterday. Did so on about 5 million shares lighter than the previous high. That was the June 8th high. It had a real kind of spinning top doji yesterday. And today you're just kind of halfway in it with very light volume also. So it continues on. Take a quick look at GLD while we're here. Okay. And change that. Okay. You're back to support. Again, not a lot of volume, but the gap higher on the 28th had 5.6 million shares. You got about that right now. Well, 5.1. You'll have 5.6 by the end of the day in the GLD. So is there a great sign out of this? It certainly looked a lot better on the way going up than it has on the way back down, but it hadn't been blowout volume on the way down either. So, yeah, I mean, this is your best look at buying. You may want to get another 50 cents lower. Maybe you get that on Monday. But if you're ready to take a stab, that would be it. I don't think you need more than about a 50 to 70 cent stop on the GLD. If you get that 162, that's pretty much it. It's not going to, I'm talking about a stop on a daily basis too. You probably don't want to stop anything lower than 160, 175 or something as a closing basis for the GLD. Faster horses. Yep. Okay, go back here, look at this. Okay, question about the Qs we'll get to real quick, and then we'll get back to what I wanted to talk about. Okay, well, now you broke down. The Qs are one of the few ETFs out here that actually have some decent volume, which might tell you something. It's not great. It's just better than generally the rest of the market. You're coming back and filling this gap higher from the 10th of this month that had 51.5 million shares. You've got about 32 million shares. So let's say you end up with 40 million shares by the end of the day, which we got about an hour and a half left. So it's not going to be a big penetration. So maybe Monday we open a little bit lower. But again, I like the patterns where you think it's going to fall apart. It goes a little bit higher. Everybody kind of dispirits the idea that the market can fall apart, goes back above the trend line, and then the next close below it is where you pull the trigger. So I could see us hanging out here to maybe Wednesday or Thursday next week, maybe see a incredibly light push, and then that's what pushes us over. But again, September, traditionally, the first part of it seems to be weak as they sell the dogs and they get ready to buy the faster horses. Okay. Oh, I was going to talk about this. Interesting piece I read last night about streaming. And for the last 2 weeks, more minutes have been watched for the first time streaming than they have on broadcast networks from Nielsen. So we've reached the tipping point, at least the top point for broadcast television, or as I called it in the industry, terrestrial broadcast. And that means from Earth if you're in Lutz, Florida. Anyway, you're down a little today, almost no volume. So the idea that we've moved to streaming and hit at least over 50% mark is fairly good. But I think maybe at the same time we're going into the political season. Maybe a lot of people are not watching the traditional TVs as much to try to avoid political advertising. Which reminds me, Metamucil is not going to accept advertising in the last week, which is a huge amount of money for them. Not exactly sure why or how they came up with 1 week being the right time instead of 10 days or 3 days or 2 months, or why they think that advertising in the last few days of the election is any different than advertising today. But that's what they said they're going to do. I don't know if that all works out legally. We'll find out. But certainly you're back down to these lower levels. Again, not a lot of juice out here so far. Next stop would be about 162, where this gap up on no volume came from the third. We'll be back in a minute.
Sharpening your skills as an investor is like getting better at playing a musical instrument. You have to practice, sure, but you also need excellent instruction from experts. At TFNN, you'll get advice and guidance from the authority in technical market analysis. And it's not just dry, tedious text either. TFNN airs live financial content streamed live on TFNN.com and TFNN's YouTube channel with Tiger TV, live every market day from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern, for free. Each host is an experienced trader and gives their take on the market while taking calls and questions live from around the world. From the moment the market opens until the closing bell sounds, Tiger TV has 8 different shows with expert hosts to help you make the right moves with your money. Watch online at TFNN.com or on TFNN's YouTube channel and become the investor you were born to be. TFNN, educating investors.
The technology around us is changing every day. With so much happening, it can seem impossible to keep up with all the information. David White's investment newsletter, The Technology Insider, is designed to give you all the information you need to understand the technology that shapes today's markets and tomorrow's future. David White has made his living staying on the cutting edge of technology. His weekly newsletter will give you specific recommendations for value tech stocks, as well as entry prices, target prices, and stops to set for each trade. Dave delivers his weekly newsletters every Friday with updates throughout the week. You can get the Technology Insider at TFNN.com for only $37.50. Sign up for David's newsletter, The Technology Insider, and get an inside look at everything the technology sector has to offer. Try it risk-free today with our 30-day money-back guarantee. TFNN, educating investors.
Are China A-shares hot or not? If you trade China A-shares, now may be time to take a closer look. Trade CHAU or CHAD, Directions Daily CSI 300 China A-share Bull and Bear ETFs. China A-shares in either direction. Visit directioninvestments.com today. An investor should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Direction shares carefully before investing. The prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction shares. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, please contact Direction shares at 866-476-7523. The prospectus or summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
This program is brought to you by Vista Gold, traded on the NYSE American and TSX under the symbol VGZ.
And question to look at Alley broke under the 3x3 with no volume today. Again, you know, if you're up for a lot of days and you've got a decent trend off the low and you close one day on lighter volume, that's not a big deal. I like it, or I think it's a much better pattern either to sell a long position or to short a stock is to let it go back above a second time above the trend line, all the energy fall out, and then you really have the big move, in which case, as long as it stays above the trend line, no problem. Another pop above it and a move below it would probably take you to 33. So not a prediction. You got a nice high volume high there at 37.88, but that would be the only thing that would really make me flip to being bearish, and that is a move up maybe Monday, Tuesday, back up into that mid 36 area with no volume or light volume, and then the next close back above that, down below that trend line. So I don't see that yet. I don't see it coming, but that's the beauty of that particular pattern. You wait for the confirmation, but you see it setting up. You don't need to do anything if you're long. If you're short, you have to wait for that pattern, at least I do, to jump on. Other questions out there to look at Netflix. As we said, finally, The Tipping Point, a great book, by the way, by, oh God, what's his name now? I'll think of it shortly. It's a great book. Man, I can't remember. I haven't read it in a while. Anyway, Netflix, hard to say that anything's getting that much better on these. I think it's going to take another 6 months for them to get through a lot of the production that they had that just people weren't watching, and they need to trim down the amount of shows and try to get the quality up. Most of the stuff is not been very good. They're kind of lucky to have the tail end of Stranger Things still running through, but I think even though more people are watching streaming stuff now, it's not that as rosy as a lot of people want to make. It's just people watching a whole lot less on the way of traditional terrestrial broadcast. Anyway, you hit the move back up there. You've had no volume for a week. I still think that most of these have another 6 months to go. Most of these companies like Disney, Netflix, and of course Discovery are trying to get rid of a lot of the dead wood and non-producers. I think these guys actually have it fairly easy because for the most part, no one's really even trying on traditional terrestrial broadcast to actually get anything that anybody wants to watch. It's almost all reruns. Cable stations, special cable news, only has one cable news channel network that actually makes any money. The other three lose money on a regular basis. And, it's going to be a long time, but probably the beginning of the end of cable. Cable companies are just going to turn into internet entities for the most part, and broadcast television, I think it still exists, but more and more for people that can't afford cable. So there'll still be that, or people that don't want to watch it. I know that there's a bunch of articles out over the last, I'm going to say week to 2 weeks, about how many people are actually cutting cable out and just going to straight streaming. That's taken another big hit over the last few weeks. And of course, will these streaming companies be able to afford the $1 billion that they're going to pay for college football, which I think they got that signed yesterday, maybe the day before. So a lot of stuff going on in there. They're going to be spending a lot of money. Unclear when any of that money is really going to start bringing money back. I'm just assuming that even these big companies that are doing the streaming of these college football games are still going to have advertisers, and you have to pay for them. Just a thought. But, yeah. Okay. Question about Tesla from John, TSLA. You're down. Not a lot going on here. I think this is, from what I could see, more about trying to crush as many options and let that money go to option heaven as the options expire worthless today at 900. What are we at right now? 889. So you got $10. That's probably close enough to blow most of them out, and certainly crush most of the money in it. Okay, let's take a quick look at the XLE. Not much action in that sector today, but I think it's getting ready to break out, even though the volume isn't as much or great as we should like to see. It's not backing off on a rather bad day in the market. You're at this gap down that has 57 million shares. So will you need to consolidate a little bit more? Yes, but I think the energy sector is more than likely going to go retest 92.28, that high from June 8th. It's just how long it takes for this to consolidate out. Again, the big winner is going to be natural gas of the day. We'll give it a winning horn here as it is up to about 1.5%. And, the only thing is, as we've talked about, these things, they're not backing off, which is a good sign that you're going higher. It is finding steep resistance in that June 8th high, 32.77, with a little about 15 million shares that you got in with 10 million shares. But generally, you either give it up real quick on light volume, or you just sit there and grind against it until you go through it. But we are in the heart of the strongest season traditionally or seasonally for natural gas, and it's hard for me to think this pulls back much, if at all. Okay. PLTR, if I can type it right, PLTR for Robert, who looks at this. You finally pulled back to this gap higher that kind of started the move up to 1162. Most of those days you had, on that day you had 43 million shares, 48 million shares. This goes back to June 21st and 22nd. So some decent volume there, 43 million shares. Into it with 33 million shares. So probably the only safe thing here is to wait for a retest of the 750 low. That's the June 13th low that had 41 million shares. If you're not doing well now, you're probably getting a retest a little bit. We'll be back in a minute.
Vista Gold owns and operates the largest undeveloped gold project in Australia, the Mount Todd Gold Project. Vista Gold just completed their feasibility study, resulting in a 7 million ounce gold reserve. Vista Gold has all major permits approved and has retained CIBC capital market assistance in evaluating alternatives and in completing an accretive transaction. Vista Gold trades on the NYSE American and TSX under the ticker symbol VGZ. Vista Gold, executing a strategy to create shareholder value.
You might think that if you want to be successful at trading in the stock market, you're going to need a crystal ball. After all, it's impossible to predict the future, right? Like any endeavor in life, before you decide it's impossible, get some advice from the experts. You might find that it's not so impossible after all. For daily market overviews that give you direction on the key indices, selective stocks, and commodities, subscribe to the Opening Call newsletter at TFNN.com. The Opening Call newsletter is written by Basil Chapman, creator of the trading methodology known as the Chapman Wave. The Chapman Wave up-down sequence gives you an edge in identifying price turns, finding the peaks and valleys in stock prices. Get the Opening Call newsletter by Basil Chapman in your inbox every day. First-time subscribers also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, let us know, and you'll get a full refund within 30 days of signing up. TFNN.com, educating investors.
Everything in the universe is governed by the Fibonacci sequence. This mathematical principle is responsible for everything from the most aesthetically pleasing artwork to patterns in the stock market. To stay on top of stock patterns you can take advantage of, sign up for the Fibonacci 24/7 newsletter at TFNN.com. When you subscribe, you'll get a weekly report from veteran day trader Larry Pesavento on stocks you need to pay attention to. And you can trust Larry's analysis. After all, he's got 45 years experience as a day trader. Larry will also provide daily charts, videos, and data on the key markets that he's tracking. Expect notifications from Larry on market movement you need to act on at any time. First-time subscribers also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, let us know and you'll get a full refund within 30 days of signing up. Subscribe to the Fibonacci 24/7 newsletter today. TFNN.com, educating investors.
TFNN has launched the Tiger's Den. Hosted at Discord, TFNN has been educating traders for more than 20 years with live programming hosted by a variety of professional traders during market hours. The Tiger's Den, available to all tigers and tigresses for just $1 for the year. There's no catch or added costs when you join our community of traders. Sign up today and become a part of this educational community of traders. Just visit the front page of TFNN.com.
Catch Tom O'Brien, professional trader and educator, founder of TFNN. Also, a special guest on CNBC. Tom will bisect and dissect the markets. The Tom O'Brien Show, next on TFNN.
As we get ready to wrap up another show, very interesting options expiration day. I was looking for a little bit more directional chop today. It's been a seller all day long, which is incredibly rare on options expiration, even in a trending market, either higher or lower. So what? Well, you would have liked to have seen the volume. And let's just take a quick look at that. It's not big. Now, maybe we get a lot right into the end of the day, but 6.8 billion shares now looks like we're probably going to be under yesterday's volume. So maybe we get a little bit of a pop, and that's on no volume, and then we really see some kind of rip lower. But I'm going to need to see some kind of pop and see that it is not bought either. The TLT question in the den about that. I mean, you're down here. You don't have blowout volume for the 15 million shares back at 111.85. You're still $1 above it. My guess is we're going to get into that on Monday. Anything approaching 15 million shares, I think, tells us that we're going to go retest the 107.71. I think that there is a little bit of push out here for this big gap lower on the dollar move itself. So there's more than a few things going on in the background. Maybe the reading over the weekend will get me a better idea of how these things are fitting together. But at the moment, we just have the charts, and we don't have the volume on the downside. And that's always kind of be the fly in the ointment out here. You would have liked to have seen this thing really gap down, have huge volume. We didn't get it in the equities. The only thing I think we got it in is the dollar. Gold's down a little bit, but not telling us anything horrible. So I think it's something that we're not going to know the result for until mid next week, if not later next week. So when you can, not when you have to. We'll see you here Monday, bright and shiny like a new penny.
Building wealth trading in the stock market seems impossible to